And pay attention as we go through this to be able to ask, as we look through this passage. Remember the 5 things that we're going to look at. We're going to quickly look at what is this passage about. We're going to look at who's this passage talking about? Who are the people that are involved in this passage? We're going to look at how is God showing himself in this passage? What do we see about God in this passage? Then we're going to say, okay, this was Isaiah, Old Testament, Jews. What do we see about the good news or the gospel that is shown through Isaiah 41? And then we're going to make the important point or important turn as we look at that and we say, okay, based on all these things that we've just kind of seen out of this passage, does that have anything to do with me? I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so first, we're going to read through the passage real quick, and these are the things we want to look at right up front. We want to say, what's the passage about? What jumps out at you? And my bet is as we read through this, there's going to be a couple of things that jump out at you or surprise you as we look through this passage. And then there might be some questions that you have. Not that we'll have answers, but there might be some questions that it's like, that's interesting. These are some questions I have. Sometimes the questions are answered right in the context. So we just look at the context and we say, okay, I understand that. Sometimes the questions are like, wait a minute, I need to understand a little bit more about Isaiah as a whole, or maybe the Bible as a whole, to be able to understand some of the answers to those. And sometimes it's like, we just walk away with questions. It's like, I don't know if we have an answer for that one. So we'll see. Let's go through this one. Okay, let me get my glasses on. Isaiah 41. So obviously Isaiah's writing here, and he's written this book. And he says, "Be silent before me, you islands. Let the nations renew their strength. Let them come forward and speak. Let us meet together at the place of judgment. Who has stirred up one from the east, calling him in righteousness to his service? He hands nations over to him and subdues kings before him. He turns them to dust with his sword, to wind-blown chaff with his bow. He pursues them and moves on unscathed by a path his feet have not traveled before. Who has done this and carried it through, calling forth the generations from the beginning? I, the Lord, with the first of them and with the last, I am he. The islands have seen it in fear. The ends of the earth tremble. They approach and come forward. They help each other and say to their companions, 'Be strong.' The metalworker encourages the goldsmith, and the one who smooths with the hammer spurs on the one who strikes the anvil. One says of the welding, 'It is good.' The other nails down the idol so it will not topple. But you, Israel, my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, you descendants of Abraham, my friend, I took you from the ends of the earth. From its farthest corners I called you. I said, 'You are my servant.' I have chosen you and have not rejected you. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you with help and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. All who rage against you will surely be ashamed and disgraced. Those who oppose you will be as nothing and perish. Though you search for your enemies, you will not find them. Those who wage war against you will be as nothing at all. For I am the Lord your God, who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, 'Do not fear, I will help you. Do not be afraid, you worm Jacob, little Israel. Do not fear, for I myself will help you, declares the Lord, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. See, I will make you into a threshing sledge, new and sharp with many teeth. You will thresh the mountains and crush them and reduce the hills to chaff. You will winnow them. The wind will pick them up and a gale will blow them away. But you will rejoice in the Lord and glory in the Holy One of Israel. Okay, let's stop there. Okay, let's look at that passage. What's that passage about? Any idea?
Sounds like he's telling Israel, I got this. This is where we're going. This is what I'm doing.
Message to Israel of, I got you. Okay, what else? What else do we see in that? I told you this was going to be a hard one. Yeah.
I looked up the islands once, and it was a Hebrew saying for kind of like way out those lands that we don't even know about. So when he talks about the islands, it's colloquial for just we don't even know who lives there.
The faraway places.
He's telling them about himself.
He's telling them about himself, yes. Did anything jump out at you or surprise you as we went through this? Anything that you were like, oh, wait a minute, I gotta go look at that again.
Sarcasm.
Sarcasm, okay. The little Israel?
Little Israel, and they're all working on these idols, and they're all like, yeah, this is good, but one of them's like nailing it down so it won't fall over.
Yeah, I like that one too. It's like the goldsmith, and it's like we're all helping each other. Go, we got this. It's like, nail down that idol so it doesn't fall over.
I like how he kind of compares him to a worm.
A worm?
Yeah, it's like,
You worm, Jacob.
yeah, pretty low.
Yeah.
But then that worm's going to become a threshing sledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, true, a couple verses later.
That we're going to come back to, I think, as we look at God and us and stuff like that. A couple other questions. Any questions you had about this passage as we kind of read through it?
Well, I guess the earth is flat because you mentioned the four corners of it.
Four corners of the earth?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Yep.
That I find, jumps out at me surprised because I thought it was round, but apparently it is flat.
So the earth has four corners. Okay, yes.
The NIV says farthest corners,
Farthest corners. Oh, okay.
more like an idea than
We still say
flat
that.
four corners.
We kind of still say that though, even though we know the earth's not flat.
Don't say that out loud because Roland is still happy with
Oh, no.
it being flat.
It's not me.
Oh,
I'm not naming names.
he's not.
Did you see that bus go by?
That's right. He's about to go under it.
No, he's put me under it.
Yeah. Oh, man. He didn't use your name in it. He did look at you as he was saying that, though. Okay. We may come back to this a little bit. Let's look at the people. Who do we see in this passage? Sometimes they're really direct. It's like this person and this person and this person are working together, so it's really easy. This one here is a little bit less specific. So who are the people in here?
Israel and non-Israel?
Israel, non-Israel, yeah,
God?
God. What's Israel? Anybody else? What's Israel learning?
Descendants? The descendants of Abraham, is that true?
Sons of Abraham, descendants of Abraham. That's an interesting point. So I wonder if when he's talking about the descendants of Abraham, is he referring to Israel or all of the descendants of Abraham?
No, because he pulls out Jacob.
He does pull out Jacob. So that would be Israel, that piece of Abraham's descendants. So what are they learning?
To keep their trust in God, because he's going to guide and direct them.
Trust God. Okay.
Start out, you need to listen. Verse 1, they need to pay attention and listen.
Listen. Which kind of gets us into Isaiah as a whole and the book of Isaiah and what Isaiah was doing at the time and why he was a prophet and what he was doing with the Jews at the time.
They're really not much without God.
They're nothing without God. Yeah. Huh.
Kind of like us.
Mhm.
And we're not, that's question 5. We're almost there. But Israel, like, it's interesting because we see this in other places, right? About Israel. Like, I chose you because you were amazing. Oh, no, that's not right, right? What else what else is Israel learning? Some of it's by implication. What's God saying about Israel?
I think their purpose at the end of verse 16, you will rejoice in the Lord your God and glory in the Holy One of Israel.
Mm.
Verse 2, 3, and 4 kind of remind me of Job, as you see God asking Job all the questions about who he is and what he's done. And here, verse 1, he says, okay, you guys need to listen, you need to pay attention. And then verse 2, 3, 4, he, in a very condensed form, he walks through history and says, how has anything happened? And then verse 4, he says, I, the Lord, first, with the last time he. So 2, 3, 4, the people are looking around trying to figure out how they've gotten to where they are. God's trying to help them understand how they've gotten where they are.
Yeah. And we'll get a little bit more of that when we look at God at the next question, because that kind of speaks a lot to that piece of that. Yeah. What else? Anything else about Israel or about the non-Israels?
The non-Israelites have some kind of understanding of what's going on. They
Yeah.
know there's somebody or something working that's beyond them.
Yes.
Their
end is not good, they're gonna perish in the end. Israel's gonna go through things. It's not gonna be an easy walk,
Yeah.
but, he's gonna have judgment on that. He's gonna take care of the good and the bad.
Yeah. Old Israel's going to be a threshing sledge, and somebody's going to get threshed. Or the flip side of it, earlier in that passage, talking about, we're encouraging ourselves. We're worshiping these idols, and we gotta nail them down so they don't fall over. It's like, something's wrong with that. I'm not quite sure what's wrong with that, but something's wrong with that.
Is verse 2 prophetic? Because isn't in Revelation, isn't there something about the king from the east?
I'm the one that asks questions. Okay?
I don't know. I would say probably in the immediate context, he's probably talking about a specific king. Whether there's revelation connections, I have not looked at. But I would say there's also someone that God has in mind here in their own history that they would be aware of.
If we take that, it's a good question. Because that gets us into okay, so he's referencing something here. How would we know what he's referencing? And to know that, we'd have to back up and we'd have to say, oh, okay, what's the context around? Because we jumped in, chapter 41, Isaiah did not write chapter 41, just so you know. He wrote the whole book. And so we're jumping into the middle of this book that somebody wrote, like 2/3 of the way in, and you can't just open any book and jump 2/3 in and say, I'm going to read 3 sentences and say, oh yeah,
I know what's going on.
I know what's going on. You might, but if you don't, what do? You got to back up and say, wait a minute, how did we get here? Because he didn't write chapter 41. He wrote 40 into 40. So we'd back up and we'd say, can we understand what he's referring to here based on the context? And sometimes we'd even back up a little bit further and we'd say, okay, well, we can look at history and we can say, Isaiah was writing this at this point in time inside of Judah and Israel's history. Who is he writing to? And we might be able to see, oh, right after this king from the east, from Babylon, came through, and this is what happened. And we might go, oh, okay. He might have been referring to that event coming in. Because we do know, what do we know about the Assyrian king? When the Assyrian king came in, he wiped out Israel, but what happened to Judah? They were saved, right? When the Assyrian king. So in other words, if we look at some of the things in history and some of the other things that happened in Kings and Chronicles, and we can see some of the other events that were happening right around this time, we might be able to paste together and say, oh, I wonder if he was referring to this specific king or this specific event. So that question kind of leads us into more study to say, I got this question. I wonder what that's about. And we can do some more digging and research to figure it out. So, good question, but outside of this, don't know without more study and context. Okay, let's look a little bit further. Let's look at God. What did we learn about God in this passage? Because we learned several things about him in this passage. What did we learn?
He's a loving father
He's a loving God.
in his way of saying that I will uphold you and don't worry, I'm here.
Yes. He does say that to his people, huh?
He's got it under control.
He's got it under control.
He has the right to make the decisions he makes.
Yeah.
He's faithful and taking care of them even when they're not doing what they should be doing.
He's taking care of his people. Exactly. Yep.
If you look at 10 and verse 10 and 13 especially, that's sort of some foundation for some like old hymn stuff, about, maybe not necessarily old hymns, but do not fear, I'm with you. Don't be dismayed, I'm your God. I take hold of your right hand, do not fear. Good stuff that you want to hear when you have fear, when you're scared.
Comforting in that standpoint, yes. Then when you kind of understand who God is, that provides comfort. Yeah. Anything surprising about God?
And he calls Jacob a worm.
You worm, Jacob.
That's super affirming.
It's super affirming. Yes.
Jacob didn't have a whole lot of confidence if he's being called a worm, I think.
So to rephrase that, maybe from my perspective, it's highlighting the vast gap between who God is and who Israel is. It's not just saying, hey, I'm your God, right? He didn't say, hey, you're good people, I want to be your God. If you'll let me. He said, you worm. You're nobody. I didn't pick you because he's like, you need help. And if you don't know you need help, let me be clear. You need help.
I thought it was like talking against Israel because he's going through and saying, don't be afraid, I'm helping you, I'm your God, don't be dismayed. And I assumed that they were afraid, that they were dismayed, and that he's like throwing up his hand like, listen, you little worm, I'm gonna help you. Is that not true? That it's a response as opposed to from the front end? You're a target.
I think that's another good question.
Look it up.
From that context, because we could see it kind of both ways, or maybe it's meant both ways. Maybe it's meant as descriptive as well as encouraging. Maybe it's meant, so that's a good question as far as how you see it. And some of it is kind of how you read through it too, where you put the emphasis as you're reading through. Is it being condemning of Israel, or is it being encouraging to Israel, or is it being instructive?
Maybe it's a little bit of both, a wake-up call.
A wake-up call? In other words, what?
Too overconfident.
Yeah.
So I think there's a difference between frustration and an instructive wake-up call. And I would lean towards an instructive wake-up call because Israel has not responded. God's just speaking in this whole time. And he is clear about where Israel is, about who they are, about who he is. But I wouldn't read it as frustration. I would read it as, this is where I am, this is where you are. I've chosen you. I'm going to use you. I'm going to turn you into this. So it's not frustration. It's here's where you are, but here's where I'm taking you. Here's what's going to happen.
I do know that Israel, time and time again, they went through the cycle of, yeah, we totally need you. We're totally desperate without you. And then as soon as they're in good shape, what they do?
They screw it up again.
They're like, yeah, we don't need you. We're good. We're going to go do whatever we want. And time again, God had to go back and say, you're going to do it on your own. It's not going to end well. And it doesn't end well. Over and over and over again. But God doesn't leave them there. He says, recognize your need for me. And they get desperate enough and they recognize their need for God again. And maybe this is one of those statements that Isaiah is saying out loud of, when we understand our need, our position, we now can really see the fact that God is our God. Now, it's not comfortable to say, okay, I'm a worm. But that's pretty descriptive as I'm in need. Anything it's teaching us about God? Okay, let's look at the gospel. Ooh, in the back. I see that hand.
It says in verse 4, who has done this and carried it through, calling forth the generations from the beginning? I, the Lord, with the first of them and with the last, I am He. So we're included in there. I guess it's not the gospel.
I like to think of the gospel as the good news. And there's good news in this passage. What else? That's good. Yep. Whenever we connect who God is with who we are, we see the gospel. Right? Because isn't the gospel fundamentally understanding our need and understanding who God is? Because that is the fact that God provided a solution to our need. When we understand our need, we understand who God is and that God has provided that solution. We're seeing a picture of the gospel. Now, this may be opaque if we're saying a picture of Christ on the cross and his death for our sins. When we see the gospel as that, but fundamentally, we all have a problem because we don't want to recognize who God is. We want to do our own thing. We want to be our own God. And once we understand that we can't be our own God, that we have to see God for who he is and that he's provided a way, we see the gospel once we understand that. Okay, I'm supposed to ask questions, not say stuff. And so, but that's a quick way because we got 7 minutes. And I wanted to say, get to this one. Let's look at you. Let's look at me. So if you want to, you can talk about me. What do we see in this passage that helps me?
Verse 13.
Is that the worm one?
Well, it's just before the word. But it
I was
says-
just making sure he wasn't like, yeah, Chip, you're a worm, just so you know.
Well, theoretically, we're all worms.
Okay.
Whatever it is. Yeah. God has you. I will hold you in my right hand, or your right hand. Have no fear. I will help you.
I will help you. He has chosen Israel, and he's letting him know, if you're mine, I got you. Good? What else?
That worm thing, the difference between God and us is greater than the difference between us and a worm. It's just a thought.
Mhm.
Not a good study.
What else? What out of this passage as we see this, what did we get reminded about ourselves? Anything that our thoughts or beliefs that's like reaffirming or changing what we believe or what we think?
I think sometimes I forget, how powerful God really is. Just like you got issues going on or work issues, and I'm trying for days to figure things out on my own. And then all of a sudden it'll occur to me, I just need to pray about this and let God. So it's always like the last thing that occurs to me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It should be the first thing, but it's rarely the first thing.
I get caught in that whole thing of, I got this.
Yeah.
I got this. I got this. And this was a good reminder to me in that same thing of, sometimes I think I got this. I don't got this. What else?
There was so much directed to Israel in this scripture. The fact that it's not stated to have a time zone of, okay, for this year, I promise to do these things for you. It's apparently an eternal promise. And with today's history, God's still with them.
That idea of Israel, you are my people. I like how he starts that section, though, where he starts and he says, you are my servant. That was another one of those worm ones.
That's a privilege.
It's a privilege, but how many of us want to be chosen out and said, hey, you're my servant. You're going to be my servant. Isn't that the struggle, though, that people have? I got this. I'm not a servant. What are you talking about? No, I'm good.
I'll sign on your face.
Yeah.
We think we're perfect, and no, we're not. Nobody's that perfect except God. So we don't always got this.
And doesn't that like move us right back into the gospel again? Do you want to be God's servant? God's saying, hey, you're my servant.
So do we use that word servant? Here, now I'm going to ask a question. But
Careful.
because we view the word, at least for me, I view the word servant as in lowly, you have to do my bidding. But I don't know that that's how God really views the word servant. When he wants us to be his servant, he's not really saying, ooh, you're lowly, lesser than me, you better do exactly. Is he looking at it that way?
Well, I think that he reinforced it when he called him a worm. And so maybe, but I think part of it is our attitude. I mean, what if he said, hey, I want you to be I've chosen you to be my slave.
Yeah, but it's God. So it's like being the king's slave as opposed to some middle class slave. It's like, yeah, I want to be your slave. But then in 8 he says, be you Israel, my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen the offspring of every my friend. So most people, oh, okay. Because I was thinking most people, if they're your slave or servant, they're not really your friend. They're just your... Of course, Jesus says in John 15, I no longer call you, verse 16, my servants, I now call you friends, because servants don't know what the master is doing. I've told you everything that God has told me to tell you. You know what the master is doing.
So did that change from Israel into the... That's a good pulling a more context out from a different place. I think fundamentally, so I'll give you a quick clip. I got 15 seconds. When I first started working, we were like at the bottom rung of stuff. And there were like 4 of us in this documentation thing. And our job was we've had all these programmers that were above us, and our job was to help them. And if we did a good job, we made sure that we took care of all of their mess. And we helped them document stuff, and so they weren't our boss, but our job was to help them.
Make them look good.
Make them look good, take care of all their problems, all of that kind of stuff. And I had always grown up in a Christian environment, and this idea of being a servant, not negative. And so I referred to that with one of my coworkers of, isn't this good to serve these guys? And this idea of being a servant isn't popular outside of some circles. And I didn't get the reaction I was expecting from them. They did not think of themselves as serving or servant. This idea of being subservient to somebody, we recoil against in our natural state. And it takes a change of heart to want to be a servant. And that is part of the struggle, the change that we see when we work against our flesh. I got this. I'm not a servant. What are you talking about? To, no, God is my God. and I am serving him.
I feel like it's the way we think about the servanthood. The servant, we serve, in our world, we serve to receive something. So you were serving for your paycheck so that they would be okay and they would look good and that would come down to you. But our servanthood to Christ is a response. It's not you're going to do something for me, I'm hoping you're going to do something. He's already done it. So it's a response of understanding what he's already done. And that should just flow from us when he changes our heart.
Yes. And I'll push a little bit more into that because we can see God is amazing. I'll serve him. But did he ask us also to serve each other? How about our husbands? How about our wives? How about, and we can go down the list. And sometimes in some relationships, it's like, yeah, no, God's my God, I get it. But here's hard. And I'm over time. Let's pray. Father, thank you for this opportunity that we can get into your word. Thank you for Isaiah and the passage here. And I pray as we study the scripture that you've given to us, that we would see the truths from that. And I pray that as we see the truth, that we would know how you would have us live, that we would know who you are, and that we would know what you would like from us here, not just individually, but as a group as well, and that we would be friends, we would be encouragers, that we would support each other in this journey. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you much.